Yo, what's cracking everyone? Eric Ship 111 here. So, as we know, recently it was reported that almost 50% of the staff at Turn 10, the makers of the Forza Motorsport series, were laid off by Microsoft, which resulted in over 70 developers losing their job. Now, although Turn 10 was essentially reduced by half, there was still some hope that perhaps what Xbox and Microsoft did was simply get rid of the bloat now that Forza Motorsport was steering in the right direction. But sadly, according to a former Turn 10 employee, he stated on Facebook that, and I quote, "Turn 10 Studios has shuttered the Forza Motorsport space and the team is no more. The studio is open to support the Horizon side." Now keep in mind that the person who wrote this post on their Facebook had actually left Turn 10 way back in 2016, however is currently the caretaker of John Shirley's car collection, which for those who don't know, John Shirley was previously the former president, chief operating officer and director of Microsoft Corporation, which likely means that he still has some very close connections to those who work at Turn 10. Now, of course, it's very fair to take his statement with a grain of salt, as nothing has been publicly announced from both Xbox and Turn 10 as of yet. But I really doubt anything official will be acknowledged about this layoff. It's not good PR for Xbox, and because the current Forza Motorsport title is still up and running, I don't think Turn 10 would specifically post anything about this situation either. The only way we would get an official response from Xbox or Turn 10 is when a game journalist gets to do a sit-down interview with Phil Spencer next, or when Forza Motorsport reveals its last and final in-game update. Now, as someone who has literally played every single Forza Motorsport, this news is really sad. If you were to have told me back in 2012 during the peak of Forza Motorsport that in 13 years the Motorsport series would shut down solely to work as a supporting team for the recently released Horizon spin-off, I would have told you you were absolutely insane, but unfortunately this has become the reality. I guess on the plus side, we got to see Fujimi Kaito one more time. I'm happy that Forza Motorsport is now in an enjoyable state. I have been playing featured multiplayer a lot recently as I love the various different racing series you can compete in, and no other console racer at the moment provides this much variety. However, with Forza Motorsport taking almost 2 years to reach this point after its initial release, the writing was pretty much on the wall. Even with all of the changes and improvements, it was simply too late, and many players had either already left or lost faith, resulting in Microsoft wiping out half of the team over at Turn 10. So, who's exactly at fault? Do we point the finger directly at Microsoft for shutting down one of their OG IPs who helped build Xbox's credibility in the racing genre? Or do we look at who was creatively in charge for the latest Forza Motorsport? Well, let's first look at Microsoft and Xbox. It's no secret that throughout the past several years, Xbox has invested literally billions of dollars acquiring some of the biggest publishers and game studios. Now, with such massive purchases, obviously what Microsoft wants to see are huge financial returns. And if those acquisitions aren't helping Xbox generate the profits they were hoping for, the ones that will suffer the most are smaller game studios and niche genre titles. Not only that, with Xbox pushing the subscription-based Game Pass service, which is currently Xbox's leading source of revenue based on their recent quarterly reports, thanks to games like Call of Duty and Minecraft, in order for Game Pass to continue growing, they need to relentlessly push out popular titles like Call of Duty every year, which is why we are already seeing a Black Ops 7 just 6 months after Black Ops 6 was released. And unfortunately, for more niche titles like Forza Motorsport, a circuit-based simcade racer, which only captures a small percentage of the Game Pass users, won't be a priority. Right now, all Microsoft cares about is driving as much growth to Game Pass, and if game studios release titles that don't seem to contribute to that growth, then there's a chance that Microsoft could just shut them down, which in my opinion absolutely sucks, because as someone who has gamed for over 2 decades, some of the best and most creative titles aren't necessarily the most popular in terms of sales figures, and sometimes it may even take some time for an IP to get recognized. Game Pass as a service only allows smaller or niche titles to flourish only when the big Game Pass IPs are generating a lot of growth and revenue. But tying this back to Forza Motorsport, the game was just getting good again, and now knowing that this niche genre will no longer continue in the future will undoubtedly be upsetting for many Forza fans. I also did talk about the 18:6 contractor rule in my previous video. I won't get into it too much here, but it's also a reason why I believe Forza Motorsport released so unpolished. The developers who were hired as contractors really only had 18 months to work on the game before having to take a mandatory 6-month leave without pay, which resulted in talent simply leaving and most likely being replaced. I mean, how can Forza Motorsport be built properly if many of the developers within Turn 10 were being cycled through like a lazy Susan? I mean, just hire the entire team permanently for the 6 to 7 year duration of Forza Motorsport's development. That way, every developer on the team understands the project, creates workflows that are much more efficient, and the morale is good. I'm sure that would have at least given Forza Motorsport a better chance at succeeding during its release. Now that's Microsoft's side, but what about Turn 10 Studios? Are they innocent for half of the team losing their jobs? That's very difficult to say given the corporate structure that Microsoft enforced. However, I do think that the creative direction for Forza Motorsport was terrible. The fact that this game was not built as a title to serve long-time motorsport fans, but rather focused on artificial engagement like car points, car levels, FOMO career mode. Even if the entire team at Turn 10 was hired permanently during development, all we would have gotten was a more refined and polished version of a forced engagement, FOMO-driven Forza Motorsport. Sure, perhaps we may have gotten more content in the beginning, but it's clear the fact that featured multiplayer didn't have all of the open spec class division racing at launch, featured tours in career mode removed after each update, recycled cars returning. Engagement was Turn 10's priority instead of delivering a good base game. I'm sure even with Microsoft's 18:6 contractor rule, if the creative director were to be given a second chance or outright replaced with someone else to remake another Forza Motorsport, we probably would have gotten a much better product at launch. And maybe, just maybe, this series lives on. And let's not forget about the outright marketing lie of the game being built from the ground up. Imagine internally knowing what you had during development and then falsely claiming time and time again that their upcoming game was built from the ground up on an Xbox Developer Direct. It's honestly ridiculous. It's so bad that the phrase has become an actual meme tied to this franchise. In my opinion, I think both Microsoft and Turn 10 are responsible for the death of Forza Motorsport. Microsoft is too financially focused and don't seem to want to facilitate a good working environment for much more niche genre games to succeed, and Turn 10 prioritized engagement and lies over making a fun racing game for car enthusiasts. So the question now is, will there still be new content coming to Forza Motorsport? Reports did say that Microsoft has kept enough staff over at Turn 10 to keep the game up and running. However, we have seen some content that has been left unused which could possibly get introduced. For example, in one of the trailers, we did see Chris Fosberg's 370Z drifting through Maple Valley. We've also seen the Toyota Chaser JZX80, which was first introduced in Forza Horizon 5, appear in some of the final images for Fujimi Kaido from some of the Turn 10 developers. Look, I understand that some of these cars could just be placeholders, but if there is any chance, if licensing allows for this, just add whatever cars that were missing from Forza Motorsport 7, as well as any new cars from Horizon 5, and I'm sure this will inject some decent life before it all ends. That's not even mentioning the possible content that Turn 10 was still planning to release for the remaining year. Just because the team has now been reduced to half, I don't think they're going to completely halt all of the immediate content that was planned. I believe we will still see at least a handful more updates, perhaps new cars, and maybe even a new track. However, once 2026 rolls around, that's when I believe Turn 10 will reveal to everyone that this will be the final update, and they will now publicly announce that they'll be helping Playground Games deliver the next Forza title. I also wonder if drag racing will make a return. Obviously, Forza Motorsport has drag tyres available as an upgrade, but with no dedicated drag racing, it seems a little odd. Fingers crossed, I hope they do. I mean, I'm sure somewhere during development, drag racing was planned. It was even briefly showcased in one of the trailers as well, but maybe it was left unfinished or Turn 10 was planning to drip feed it years later. I don't know. But anyways, let me know what you guys think about all of this. Share us your thoughts down in the comment section below, as I do read all of your comments, guys. If you guys did enjoy today's video, please make sure to smash the thumbs up button, as it really does help me out. And of course, if you guys would like to stay up to date with everything Forza related, be sure to subscribe, and I hope to see you guys in the next video. Peace.